Harenis. Harenis is the great scholastic city of the Arclands. Whilst being significantly smaller than Arc, it is still a major metropolis and a centre of learning, knowledge and law. It is built from white stone and sits offshore, a perfect marble circle connected to the land by the Vinderhon Bridge. Harenis is the home to numerous schools and scholastic houses, ranging from the highly prestigious House of Neem to smaller institutions with mixed reputations. The city is divided between a wealthy caste of prestigious scholars and sages, who kings and emperors pay handsomely to consult, and a large and financially precarious class of scribes and researchers who do most of the skilled work that keeps the city's masters in business. Most of these poorly paid and overworked intellectuals live in the Inktown district of the city. 50 miles inland, under Mount Caste, is the Library of Harenis. This vast archive is the size of a city and fills an enormous chamber carved inside the mountain itself. The library was created by the Emperor Durs II as a source of all the world's knowledge, but is slowly drifted into disorder and chaos. Harenis and the Church. Harenis's wealth, prosperity and status is guaranteed by Arc, which offers the city the use of the Arkish Levat as currency. For more on the value of the Levat, read the Levat and modern Arkish currency. The reason for this generosity is that Harenis provides a valuable epistemological service for Arc and the Aruvian Church. As far as the Church is concerned, a majority of the scholarship done in Harenis is either irrelevant or dangerous to its shaky hold over official knowledge in Eastis. The most prestigious Harenian scholars have become very comfortable in their relationship with the Church, and many now do the Church's bidding in suppressing more dangerous anti-Aruvian concepts. Renegade sages and scribes who have rejected this corrupt arrangement accuse Harenian schools now of being crucibles of ignorance, not knowledge. Principally, the Aruvian Church insists that all ideas pertaining to magic are discredited and their proponents, of whom there are several in Harenis, are punished. The Church ensures that Harenis survives as an independent state. The Archimandrites of Arc have placed pressure on protectors to support the Harenian economy, and have brought what pressure they can bring to bear on Dron to garrison the city on very favorable terms. The Church also insists that knowledge regarding the ancient Fey kingdoms, that virtually no Arclander has ever heard of, is suppressed, and that any law that pertains to the now shattered celestial realm also be hidden. The Aruviad is full of misleading references to the Fae, describing them as demonic creatures, and whilst scholars who directly quote from the Aruviad risk their reputations as they stretch the limits of credulity, it has become increasingly clear that the Church is now directing many to do so. Some Harenian sages who have taken gold directly from the Church have been reduced to little more than propagandists. The history of the library, and the city. Harenians always seem to forget that their gleaming city, which sits half a mile offshore and exists just above the white-tipped waves, was always an afterthought in the mind of the Vanik Empire which built the city. Durs too reigned over a dramatic growth in learning, culture and knowledge in the Vanik Empire in the years -2311 to -2119. As literacy spread and it became essential that he find a home for this vast outpouring of lore. He decided to build the biggest library in the history of the Vanik peoples and created it in the caverns below Mount Caste in the Arching Mountains. This project, that lasted for centuries after his death, attracted the learned of the Van and then the Arc empires to a new settlement close to the library, at the mouth of the river Haran, Harenis, city on the Haran. The city of Harenis came to be dominated by a number of powerful and influential schools of learning, each specializing in different fields. A ruling body, the Learned Council, came to govern the city, and each of the masters of houses were represented on it. In the centuries prior to the sundering, the government of Harenis was relatively straightforward. All houses agreed that the study of magic and anything arcane was forbidden, and the idea that there had once been magic in the world had to be ridiculed. Even though there was no magic to utilize anyway, it didn't stop scholars from finding out the truth. Following the sundering, it became ever harder to dismiss reports of magic and sightings of unnatural entities. The determination of the houses to deny the reappearance of magic in the world has slowly eroded their credibility, and they cling to their beliefs because they fear what the widespread adoption of magic might mean to their power and authority. Scholars in Harenis see themselves as the gatekeepers of knowledge and want to tightly control what law is accepted and what must be banned. They have close ties with the Aruvian Church, which similarly has no desire to see magic proliferate. The de facto ruler of Harenis is Lord Valis, the master of the House of Neem, the main school of learning for the understanding of natural and earthly things. Valis is a bitter, scheming and power-hungry man with secret ties to Dron. He is suspicious of his more talented and ambitious underlings and often seeks to undermine them. Harenis is garrisoned by a company of Dranian soldiers that have been seconded to protect the city, at a price. They complement the Circle Watch, a local militia of lazy and incompetent guards who are normally hired from Vinderhove. The circles? Harenis is built around 10 concentric circles, with the city's main schools and centers of learning in the first circle. The second to the fifth circles are made up of mainly residential districts with assorted marketplaces and a few inns. Harenis is a notoriously bad place to buy a drink. The outer circles are made up of rougher, less gentrified districts and are close to the very lightly patrolled docks. It is at these waterfronts that more secretive visitors drift anonymously into the city in search of knowledge and power. Right at the heart of the city, separated from the first circle by water, is the Resonance. It is the great debating chamber of Harenis and the place where the most important philosophical debates in Eastis have been held. It sits at the heart of a perfectly symmetrical circular city. Some scholars have wondered whether the Resonance might have some other hidden purpose. The schools? There are 19 great scholastic houses in Harenis. The House of Neem, Dorus, Mastrand, Thares, Aldrun, Dravantin and Horuval are the most famous and prestigious. They populate the most attractive parts of the first circle, surrounding the Resonance. Behind these schools in the adjoining side streets are the lesser well-known centers of learning which are smaller. Neem has over 300 scholars and scribes when it is full, a lesser school might have 20. Those scholars who cannot afford to pay for the expensive tuition and knowledge at a great scholastic house or even a lesser one, tend to group together in small scroll houses. These consist of several scholars in the same field pooling all their resources and their meager finances, living on top of one another in cramped accommodation. Often these arrangements end in drink-fueled violence. For the wealthy, gaining access to a great school is easy. Money opens all doors in Eastis eventually. For the poor, the only hope is some kind of scholarship or charity, which some of the houses offer periodically. Those who wish to study at a great scholastic house need to show that they are intelligent enough. Scholars normally have a specific thing they wish to learn, ancient Vanic law, the history of Delmara for example. Though most of the work is done by the urban poor and their children, some students at the library make money on the side transcribing sections of books considered overly complex, specific or rare. One of the best-known features of the market is Reedvire's Corner. Illa Reedvire is a dislikable and obnoxious hoarder of books, scrolls and knowledge, and is very selective about who he chooses to sell his merchandise to. He occupies one large corner of the market, and has built a maze of tents and book stalls. He delights in helping desperate scholars to find rare texts and then refusing to sell them at any price. The Library of Harenis. Situated at the east face of the foot of Mount Caste is the Durian Gate to the Library of Harenis. The library is the single largest space ever built by the Van. It fills a chamber the size of a city deep under the mountain. Some have speculated that the library itself is the size of Ark, but no one really knows, as centuries have passed. The archivists who acted as wardens in the vast library have slowly grown fewer in number. What is clear is that the order that the library was once famed for has slowly decayed into growing chaos. The library's floor is made up of hundreds of square miles of lacquered wood, and the books, scrolls, maps and other items are housed in gigantic storage units called stacks.